No, it's a mood shot.
It's
just
moody.
What can I say?
What are you trying to say?
I'm 41. How do you not get heavy when you're 41?
I'm sorry.
I like that picture.
Yeah.
That's a good one. How come my pictures didn't turn out that good?
Levi's 100% cotton Dockers. If they're not Dockers, they're just pants.
This captures a lot of personality. Not yours, but... Did you guys hear? Okay.
He shocked us with the most frightening movie of our time. And now, from William Friedkin, director of The Exorcist,
hello,
comes a tale of the terrifying power of evil. The Guardian.
Don't let her into your house.
She cooks, she cleans, she takes care of the baby. What else does she do?
The Guardian, rated R. Starts Friday at theaters everywhere.
We've had five.
All right, we're back here in New York. We've gone an hour. We've had 10 first-round selections. Let's quickly recap the last few. And that's Chris Singleton went to New England, linebacker. Then Miami very quickly selected Richmond Webb, tackle. And Ray Agnew, defensive line from NC State, went with New England's second first-round pick. Well, let's kick this around a little bit with Miami. First of all, going offensive line. They've done so well through the years in protecting Dan Marino. But, you know, Ronnie Lee, they lost in Plan B. John Giesler has been a great tackle for them for a lot of years. He was let go as Miami has kind of let go a lot of their name players, guys who've been with them for a lot of the 80s, but can't do it anymore, at least in the eyes of Don Shula and company. So they do have a lot of openings on the offensive line, and I guess Marino can't be too upset with that pick.
I was just going to say, Chris, if I'm the quarterback of any football team and a coach tells me we're going to select the best offensive lineman we believe in this draft and have him play the left tackle position, I got to breathe a sigh of relief because all of a sudden I know my backside's taken care of. We constantly talk about the release of Dan Marino and probably the quickest in the league since Joe Namath, but still, it's always nice to have that little bit of a comfort zone if you have to hold the football.
You surprised, Mel? Or
no, not at all. I knew they liked Webb. We knew they liked Francis and J.D. Williams. They didn't expect Webb to be here. They thought the Bears would take Richmond Webb with the 6th pick overall. They haven't gone for offensive linemen going back to the Roy Foster days, and they knew they had to start developing that position. You have to look at the offensive line. There's only 4 offensive linemen, Webb, Brostick, Elwyn Eby, and Iowa State's Keith Sims, that figure in that first 1 or 2 rounds. They figure with that 2nd-round pick, they may be able to get a linebacker that can help them at that point, and maybe even a corner, but not an offensive lineman. So I think that's what Tom Heckert, Don Shula really believed, that this was a value pick. Obviously, Webb's performance at the Senior Bowl elevated him into a top 10 position.
You know, I should correct something that I said earlier. Of course, Blair Thomas, running back, went with the 2nd pick of the Jets. We've kind of assumed that for a few days now, or almost a few weeks now. So we said mistakenly that no backs had gone. But there could be 6 others who could go in this first round. And so now teams drafting from here on down will get a heck of a value at the running back spot. I mean, we're talking Emmitt Smith of Florida, the junior that came out, Harold Green from South Carolina, Rodney Hampton from Georgia, the Thompson twins. They're not twins, but we're going to call them that. Anthony from Indiana, Darryl from Minnesota, and an up-and-comer named Steve Broussard, interesting player from Washington State. I mean, we could have 7 backs before it's out. Now, the Raiders, with Bo sitting there, aren't necessarily going to be a team that's going to pick a running back. I got to guess on the Raiders, I'm going to go Percy Snow, inside linebacker. Tommy?
One of the things is when you talk to the Raiders, the Al Davis philosophy has always been, I like the best guy potentially out there, the best athlete potentially. I think this is a very difficult pick to guess at. He's going to look down the list and see who I think is going to be the best player. As they told me, you know, a few years ago, they got Henry Lawrence, and he said at the time he wasn't the best player, but we projected him 2 years down the road and said this is where we think he's going to be.
All right, so the Raiders are up next. They have about 7.5 minutes to go. He's dressed in a blazer, but you know, there's somewhere on Pete Axthelm's clothes, there's some silver and black somewhere. Let's go down to Atlanta, Sewanee, Georgia. He's at the Falcons headquarters, but Axe has some insight on the Raiders. Don't you, Pete?
Well, thank you, Chris. You know, before we get to the Raiders, I also have my Aqua outfit on hand to talk about the Dolphins for a moment. A lot of fans are already, the ubiquitous talk shows in South Florida are buzzing with people saying they didn't go for defense, they need so much. Well, that's the point. Don Shula told me this week, we do need so many holes to fill that we just have to go for the old cliche and take the best guy available. So they get Webb, and Marino, as Joe said, he's developed that great quick release, and it gets quicker every year since Dwight Stevenson went down. The line began crumbling. John Sandusky, the offensive line coach, may be the one guy who's even happier about this pick than Dan Marino. Going to the Raiders, a sigh of relief may have been heard from the Coliseum or from Al's headquarters when that pick was made, because the Dolphins love J.D. Williams, and so does Davis. You know, Al has such a history of great cornerbacks, and this kid can fly. I look for J.D. Williams to be in the silver and black. Chris?
All right, Axe, and that certainly would make some sense too. I mean, we're in the part of the draft where you know who the 5 or 6 or 7 guys are going to be, but J.D. Williams and Alexander Wright, Mel, are they're probably the fastest 2 in the draft, correct?
Oh, definitely. J.D. Williams at the Combine ran a 4.29. You're talking about Alexander Wright, the wide receiver from Auburn, ran a 4.27 recently, making him slightly the fastest. Williams is the fastest defensive back in the draft. Would make sense at this point, as would Lamar Lathan or James Francis. They need linebackers. Last year, they ended the season with Thomas Benson, Lyndon King, and Jerry Robinson at linebacker. So they have several options. If they did opt for Williams, they would have 2 of the fastest defensive backs at cornerback in the league, with Terry McDaniel and, of course, now Williams.
All right, here are the Raiders now. The speculation's about to be over. The commissioner with the 11th pick.
The Los Angeles Raiders select Anthony Smith, defensive end, Arizona. The next up are the Cincinnati Bengals.
Well, now there's a name that may not have been in the next 5 or 6, Mel.
He had moved way up. He was a guy who was 254 most of the season. Recently, in the last week and a half, when people were working him out, wasn't 254. He was a rock-solid 270, had retained all his quickness in that box drill that they put kids through. He was grading out tremendously well, and there was a lot of talk. In the update that I did, I had him going to the Dallas Cowboys with the 21st pick overall. He started for 3 years at Alabama, went to 4 bowl games during his career, the last one this season with Arizona. He's a fine football player. Like I said, people were concerned about his weight. He's up to 270 now. See the quickness, made a lot of plays in the backfield during his career at Alabama and at Arizona. So, not a bad choice for Al Davis, knowing that this kid's best football seems to be coming in the next few years when he's adding that weight and continuing to retain quickness and retain strength.
6'4", 254. From Elizabeth City High School in North Carolina. Had some scope on his knee at the end of the season, but obviously that checks out fine with the Raiders. Tommy, the Raiders going for pass rush. I mean, they love that. They have Howie still there.
Well, I think they're going for the pass rush, but I think Mel brings up a good point. This is a kid that, as Al likes to do, that he looks down the road and he says, where is this kid going to be in 2 years? And I think that with the knee cleared up, this kid will be a future star pass rusher for Al 2 years down the road.
And this is a team that is talking about getting Lyle Alzado back. We'll have time to kick that one around as the draft continues here. 6.5 hours of live coverage from New York. Next up, the Bengals. We'll be back.
I mean, what do I need a computer for? I'm not an accountant. But why should I be the company guinea pig?
Why do I need one now? I've done fine without one. Can you imagine me working on a computer?
Macintosh has the power to change your mind about computers. The power to be your best.
So I was wrong.
Michigan City is counting on you. Your 1990 census answers will show whether we have enough schools and daycare centers, enough job training programs and elderly services, suitable roads and transportation systems. The census can help improve life for all of us. Your confidential census answers will help us get money for the programs we need. We're counting on you. Answer the census. It counts for more than you think.
Yes, I'm looking for Mr. Johnson. I just bought a tractor from him, and I think I've got a problem.
Johnson's in toys.
Toys?
No, that's not
Forget
right.
the department store runaround. See your John Deere dealer during deer season.
We offer all kinds of lawn and garden products and service that just can't be beat.
Great products at great savings. See your local John Deere dealer in Crown Point, Lowell, Valparaiso, or Michigan City. Check the yellow pages for the dealer nearest you.
Welcome back to New York in the NFL Draft. ESPN's continuing coverage, our 11th year. Good afternoon, I'm Robin Roberts. It's been an interesting draft so far, especially lately. It's gotten very interesting. No doubt about the first pick, of course, being Jeff George, the first junior, one of 5 juniors to be selected so far. George, Keith McCants. Apparently his old coach, Ray Perkins, isn't concerned about his knee, picked him 4th. Other juniors, Junior Seau, Mark Carrier, and Andre Ware, the Heisman Trophy winner, going to the Lions. And he's no junior. He is Blair Thomas, the 2nd pick in the draft, going to the New York Jets. How long did you know you'd be going to New York?
Not that long. It's been just, a couple hours maybe.
You're in an inspirational story. Late in '87, you blow out your knee, miss all of '88. Did you think you could go from there to being the 2nd pick in the '90 draft?
Well, I was hoping. When I first injured myself, a lot of people had doubts about me, but I tried to keep a positive attitude, and I think it helped me out in the long run.
It seemed to be a popular choice when your name was announced. The fans here went wild. Your thoughts about playing in that New York market?
Well, it's going to be tough, but it's a challenge that I think I'll be able to handle. I'm going in there with a positive attitude. They got a new coaching staff and new head coach, so I think it's going to be interesting. What
are your thoughts about juniors coming out early? You've seen that 5 have already gone in the top 11 picks. Your thoughts about juniors coming out so early?
Well, you can look at it in different ways. A lot of juniors may have financial reasons for coming out, and the others may think that they cannot accomplish anything else in college, that they want to go on to the next level and perform to the best of their abilities. But I don't know what the reasons for these juniors are, because I only talked to a couple of them, but they are very talented athletes, and I think they will do well in the NFL.
Talking about Penn State, 71 players drafted in the NFL in the 1980s. 71. You're the first one to go in the 1990s. What is the feeling back there at Penn State with all that legacy?
It's very refreshing. It's enjoyable, exciting feeling. I'm happy to be in New York at the draft and being selected by the Jets.
Well, congratulations, Blair, and good luck with the New York Jets. I know they're happy to have you. And we have the Cincinnati Bengals are up next, and we'll go to the podium. It seems like the commissioner, not quite, but where the clock is running on Cincinnati, checking out the pronunciation. Here's the commissioner.
The Cincinnati Bengals select James Francis, linebacker, Baylor. Kansas City Chiefs are now up.
James Francis, a linebacker from Baylor, did so much in the Southwest Conference, is the pick for the Bengals. We'll go back now to Chris Berman and the guys downstairs.
All right, Robin, thank you. And our congratulations to the young man you've been with, Blair Thomas, who was just an inspiration, as you said, and is going to be one heck of a football player in New York for a long time, or New Jersey if you want to get technical, for the Jets. Let's do it that way. So James Francis, Bengals going defense. They need pass rushing in a...
Needing an outside linebacker who can rush the passer from the outside. You see Francis doing it here against Texas. A good choice. We talked about Francis earlier, maybe to the Bears, maybe to the Raiders. Cincinnati had their eye on Singleton and Francis, thinking one of those two would slide through to the 12th pick. Good move coming up with a guy that I thought was one of the top 10 players in this draft, an outstanding football player. Buck and Scow are undersized, don't give him that great pass rush and that ability at the line of scrimmage. Reggie Williams retired, fills a void, and will upgrade a defense that has to start stopping people so the Bengals don't keep getting into these track meets every Sunday.
A couple of scouts telling me that James Francis is a larger Keith McCants, which is pretty scary because we all know how good a player that Keith McCants is being touted as. And as you mentioned, you're talking outside linebacker. Reggie retired, and this is their situation at inside and outside linebacker. And the Bengals certainly need to upgrade there. They're also concerned a little bit about running back, and they may be able to address that. The fact that Icky is not responding to there still is a question about his rehab and his knee. But back to the Bengals defense, we know they can score points if they can prevent a few.
Yeah, I think that this is a great choice for him. In the last couple of weeks when I talked with him, all they talked about was James Francis. That's who they were interested in. The guy he's not a bigger Keith McCants. He's a tall guy with long arms, and any tall guy with those long arms, I guess the greatest who ever did it was Ted Hendricks. But the guy gives you a lot of extras in pass coverage. He's going to give you a lot of extras as far as blocking kicks. This was a great choice for the Bengals, and they will address the running back problem probably in the next round.
And if the Cincinnati Royals ever come back to town, they should know that James Francis played some basketball on the Baylor teams and went to the NIT and the NCAA. That just in case they do come back to Cincinnati Gardens. We'll be back to New York in a minute.
Baseball tonight. Tuesday, Friday, doubleheader. Wednesday, nothing better. Catch it Sunday and watch the fun. Sunday night, our home run.
The National League champion Giants face the Padres on Sunday Night Baseball, live at 8 Eastern on ESPN.
Baseball tonight.
Back at New York, the next pick is owned by the Kansas City Chiefs, the 13th overall selection. If you think you've fallen asleep, this is not Mel Kiper. This is Dr. Z, Paul Zimmerman from Sports Illustrated. You brought your stack of papers. Anthony Smith, Raiders, that surprised you?
Surprised me that he went that high. I think the most incredible story that I've read in the last year is about Anthony Smith. The LA Times had a piece about him. He was dealing drugs when he was 11. When he was 9, he stole a car along with 2 other kids. They ran it up to 100 miles an hour and 2 kids were killed in the car. And by some miracle, this kid was saved. I think a coach stepped in and spotted athletic talent and grabbed him when he was young, and he made it through this terrible nightmare. And he told this whole story in one of the most remarkable interviews I've ever read. And I'm just so happy to see a kid like this, finally make it. It's just incredible.
Will he be an impact player right away with the Raiders?
Well, he's an undersized defensive end, big linebacker. He's an up-down type, which is a very common position in the NFL now. I mean, they take a linebacker and put him down. Don't worry about pass coverage responsibility, or he's a small defensive end and he just rushes outside upfield.
8 out of 12 defense so far, Zim. Is it time for the running backs to start shooting out here?
Kansas City worked out Percy Snow, a linebacker from Michigan State, for an hour and a half all by themselves, exclusively at Michigan State. And when I talked to Carl Peterson, I said, but you got all these running backs. I mean, you got to get Harold Green, you got to get Emmitt Smith, this guy, that guy. And he said, you win with defense. Now, this is either a cliche to set us up or they're really going to take Percy Snow.
Guys, are you surprised the 8 out of 12 defense so far, Joe?
No, not when you look at the teams. You got to remember, look at where they're drafting. The poorer teams draft first. And usually they're the teams that, with the old adage that Carl Peterson says, you win on defense. You do win on defense. And when you're not winning, it's probably because your defense isn't very good. Doesn't surprise me at all. A couple of locks in this one. Keith McCann's going to Tampa because of Ray Perkins, and Andre Ware going to Detroit. Those were givens as far as I was concerned. Everybody else is drafted on need, so really no surprises, I see.
And Tommy, outside linebacker, that kind of position that Z talked about here, the up and down guy, the defensive end slash outside linebacker, there are a lot of, and there are more yet that we'll hear from in this round.
So much versatility in this draft. Lamar Latham still out there left. I think that we may see another defensive player go. It's not just a cliche. You do win with defensive player in there. I don't think there's been a better defensive crop available for front 7 people, those linebacker people, in a long time.
Well, it's a lot of linebackers. A lot of them are juniors, but a senior who is awfully happy is Blair Thomas, we just saw. And actually, a rarity at the draft. We understand there's a happy Jet fan after they made their selection. He's with Bino Cook right now. Bino?
It's going to go to Chris. Oh, how are you? Well, it's Earth Day in New York, all over the world, and when you want pollution, it's up here in the gallery. Andy?
How are you?
2 years ago, you were here. Why weren't you here last year?
My wife was pregnant, and she was due around this date. However, this year I'm celebrating my daughter's birthday by picking Blair Thomas for the Jets.
Are you happy with the pick with Blair Thomas?
Absolutely, and I'm also happy that we got Bruce Coslett, who I believe is the second coming of Vince Lombardi.
The Jet fans, who would you pick in the second round if you were general manager?
If I was general manager, I'd try to take Scott Mitchell from Utah.
What do you think the Jets have to do this year to win? In other words, why do you think they lost in previous years?
Well, injuries were a big factor, and play calling. Hopefully the new regime will take us to the Super Bowl.
Okay, so why do you do this? You got here early this morning, you live in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, you grew up in Brooklyn, which means that's why you're a little wacky, but why do you come to this?
Because it's the green machine for the Jets. We love them.
Are you basically happy with the Blair Thomas? In other words, would you have gotten mad? Would there been a riot if somebody else would have been picked?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's it. Back here up in the gallery. Back later now to Chris Berman.
All right, hats off, Bino, to you and the Jet fans up in the gallery. When we return, the Kansas City Chiefs are on tap with the 13th pick. Stay with us.
We go above and beyond just like you, above and beyond what we have to do, caring for what's special to you.
I'm a Prudential representative, and what's really important to me when I go into someone's home is to help them save money on their homeowner's insurance, because I know I'm a homeowner too.
Taking care to protect what's important to you. The Rock, the Prudential, above and beyond.
It's just a pure and natural beer for you. So icy cold, so crisp, so clean for you.
Of all the beers that are cold filtered, only one has that distinctively clean, crisp taste. Budweiser, cold filtered and Beechwood aged for over 110 years.
This bud's for you.
All right, we're back in New York, and we understand that the Chiefs have made their selection. They have not made their selection. 4 minutes and 45 seconds and counting to make their 13th selection. And Z, you were talking about linebacker, talking about Percy Snow. Linebackers is something that Carl Peterson has drafted and has drafted well. With the Eagles, Jerry Robinson became a Pro Bowler for him back in drafted in the late 70s under the Vermeil days. Mike Johnson in his USFL days with the Philadelphia and the Baltimore Stars, Pro Bowl, an all-star. Well, he's been a Pro Bowler when he came over to the NFL, the Cleveland Browns, and Derek Thomas, who he drafted last year, linebackers. So Carl likes linebackers.
Mills.
And Sam Mills. I knew there was a fourth.
That's him.
Well, that's he likes them. So obviously that's where you're looking.
Obviously, Carl has a feel for linebackers.
That's a rumor start.
That's a rumor, right. Yeah, I mean, I have no reason to believe that he would lie about something like that. If they love Snow, fine. When they wait this long, usually people are on the phone with them trying to deal the pick. He said if his guy wasn't there, he might trade down.
What about a running back, though? Could they do that?
They got the
smaller guy? Well, they got the big guy, of course.
Well, they got the pick of the litter. He likes Emmitt Smith. Rodney Hampton, his stock has gone up greatly in the last week or so. And I know if they don't take him, New Orleans is looking very seriously at Rodney Hampton.
Joe, the Chiefs?
I think they're going to go offense. I mean, the reason why, you're in a situation where we're talking about running backs, we're talking about linebackers. This draft has a lot of both of them. They're going to pick 40th pick after this one. So you see, they do need the speed merchant, obviously. They've got to solidify the safety positions because they're not sure what they're on Cherry. And their strength at outside linebacker. But also, you still have to take into consideration, they've traded for Steve Pallure, so they traded that pick. Now they've got Steve DeBerg. They're going to need some help to take the pressure off of Christian Okoye. They don't want him to carry the ball as much as they have. So I believe that Rodney Hampton could be a good, or an Emmitt Smith.
But you know, one name I almost forgot. When I was mentioning running backs to Carl Peterson, one name that he dropped on me, which surprised me, was was the other Smith from Indiana, bigger guy. The other Thompson, right? Anthony Thompson.
Twins, yeah.
I'll be okay. He liked the power. He liked the dedication. He liked that kind of a back for Okoye. And I said, well, you got another one like that. You got Saxon. And he said, no, you can never have too many of these big, tough guys.
All right, we've got about 2.5 minutes left for the Chiefs selection. Maybe some insight all the way from Seattle. Let's go to Kevin Kiley out there. Kevin, what do you know? Or rather, at San Diego. I'm on the right coast, at least. Kevin, what do you think with the Chiefs?
Well, at the Senior Bowl, I was speaking with the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, Marty Schottenheimer, and I asked him about the transition from college football to professional football and what was the most difficult thing for a young player. And the answer was very interesting. He said the way the player handled his unsupervised time, the way he handled his new, rather large, expendable income, and also how he handled the adulation of being an NFL player. He said those things were key to finding a successful National Football League rookie. So I think what you'll see from Kansas City is whether they go offense or defense, they'll go for a quality person, a good player, but a quality person. Back to you.
All right, Kevin, thank you. So the Kansas City Chiefs are next, followed by the New Orleans Saints. Remember, only 25 selections in the first round because 3 of the teams, the Cowboys, the Cardinals, and the Denver Broncos, used their first-round picks, if you will, last year in the supplemental draft. Dallas for Steve Walsh, Rosenbaum, the quarterback, going to Phoenix, and Bobby Humphrey, the running back, going to Denver. So only 25 first-round picks this year. And it's a draft in which, unlike other years, because of all the juniors going in it, that you're bounding, that everybody feels you will get a what is scouted to be a first-round player in the late first round, early second round. It's a deep draft, and so some of the teams drafting early second round with the only 25 picks in the first round really get some quality guys.
I think you really hit the key here, Chris, because it's a quality draft. But as far as the impact players go, there are only 1 or 2 that I think will come out of that first round to really set the league on fire. As we saw Aikman make an impact in Dallas. Forget about the record. He matured a lot, improved a lot. Derek Thomas, Bert Grossman, Barry Sanders, Deion Sanders. These guys came in and really made impacts.
Who are they this year?
I don't really think they're. I think Andre Ware is a guy who's going to make that kind of an impact. Blair Thomas, it depends on how well they adapt to Bruce Coslet's system there. Junior Seau, again, depends upon the system in San Diego. Keith McCants, Tampa Bay, depends on how they adapt. I don't necessarily see the standout stars in this draft, but the quality is definitely there, second round, third round.
So the Chiefs, the clock has run down on them, and they have made their selection.
The Kansas City Chiefs select Percy Snow, linebacker, Michigan State. The New Orleans Saints are now up.
Well, Zim, at least they don't waste those individual workouts. You know, it's not just for show.
Well, you know, they're paying those scouts by the hour. Their time is very expensive, so they got to get their money's worth.
And Percy Snow is he and Lamar Lathan, the head of the class as far as inside backers goes, from Canton, Ohio. So he certainly knows where the Pro Football Hall of Fame is. Winner of the Dick Butkus Award, the nation's top linebacker, a Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. 94 solo tackles, 163 overall, had 19 the game against Notre Dame. So he's a classic inside backer for George Perlis, who everybody really had touted as a guy who would be in the NFL for a long time.
Yeah, he looks like a 4-3 inside linebacker, middle linebacker. I don't think you really should go too high on 3-4 inside linebackers, because it's like the strong side guy. There's a 40% position. You know, he plays the first 2 downs and then sits out, or plays the first down and sits out. Yeah, so you can get those strong side inside pluggers in the second round.
Inside backer to the Chiefs. You like it, Tom?
Well, I wasn't quite as high on Percy as a lot of people. I mean, he's a tremendous inside, strict middle linebacker, but you know, like Z says, a lot of times that means the guy's going to only play first down. He's only going to play second down, and I think a lot of times with people moving, with that trend seeming to move toward that run and shoot and stretching the football field, the guy might not be as effective for you simply because he's not on the field.
Yeah, but Tommy, I really believe that what you have to do in this particular, when you're drafting inside linebackers, you can't project them anymore as inside 3-4 linebackers. These kids have to be projected now as possible middle linebackers. You need the 4-down lineman to put some kind of pressure on the passer. You got to get the ends upfield. If they're going to throw those short passes, the guys have to get up the field, get their hands up. So we're seeing a swing back now to the 4-down linemen, 3 linebackers. I like them. I liked them when we did the Gator Bowl a couple years ago, Michigan State, Georgia. I thought he was an outstanding football player. And again, I think it's a need pick, and Kansas City's going to do very well by it.
Spartans once again with a first-round selection. 7 in the last 7 years. The Michelin Man, Tony Mandarich, Andre Rison, Lorenzo White, Mark Ingram, Anthony Bell, Carl Banks, now Percy Snow. We'll be back.
Another linebacker.
Michelin high-performance radials. Everything you'd expect from a Michelin, only faster. Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires.
You've been spending your lunch hour browsing the computer literacy bookstore?
That's correct.
Then you're obviously familiar with this machine here, the Hewlett-Packard Vectra PC.
Not at all.
You're not familiar with this?
Nope.
And you're a chip designer?
That's what I am.
And you've never even heard of the Hewlett-Packard line of PCs?
Well, I thought HP made other kinds of computers, but not PCs.
Huh. Are you sure you're a real engineer?
Yep.
I only see one pen in your pocket. You're not just impersonating an engineer, are you?
There is a better way. Hewlett-Packard. Buy Hewlett-Packard PCs and get a free HP printer.
One airline has had the best on-time record for as long as records have been kept. American Airlines. And when an airline runs on time, its planes must run with precision. That's why American requires 11 man-hours of maintenance for every hour of flight. Because being dependable in the air means being demanding on the ground. American Airlines, the on-time machine.
Why should I have to wait a week for my dealer to fix my brakes just because I own a foreign car?
For foreign car brakes, Midas gets the job done right and right away.
I wouldn't settle for anything less than the right parts.
Midas stocks the right brake parts for practically every foreign car.
So I went to Midas.
Midas brake technicians are trained experts. That's why we guarantee every brake shoe and pad for as long as you own your foreign car. Nobody beats Midas. Nobody.
Back at the draft here in New York, the New Orleans Saints, the next selection, they picked 14th. We've gone past the halfway mark of the first round with only 25 picks. Last couple of years, we've had a player on with us, Thurman Thomas a couple of years ago, Robert Massey last year, who ended up being a Saint, oddly enough. Guy who may go in the first round, may go in the second round. It's a heart-wrenching day for guys like this. This year, it's a young man. I do mean a young man. He's only 20 years old. Right. Defensive tackle from Pitt is Mark Spindler, and he's at Spindler's Lounge, owned by his dad in Scranton, PA. The guy on the right is not Mark. He's a little bit slighter. That's Jimmy Roberts. Hi, Jim.
How are you, Chris? Happy Earth Day to you, and welcome to Spindler's Lounge in Scranton, Pennsylvania, which is really actually a shrine to Mark Spindler, number 93, the defensive tackle from the University of Pittsburgh. We join him now in Spindler's Lounge, and you've had a chance to look at half of the first round go by. If you tell me you're nervous, I won't believe you.
Yeah, I think everybody at this point in time is a little nervous, except the guys who got drafted. I'd like to congratulate all those people. They're really happy right now.
You told me yesterday that if 2 or 3 guys went ahead of you, you wouldn't be surprised. A couple of those guys are off the board now. The only one that's remaining that you mentioned was Ronaldo Turnbull. You must be optimistic, a little mixture of fear, anticipation.
Like I said, if I have any problems, they're good problems. And, Ronaldo, I'm sure will go within the next couple picks, and hopefully I'll be able to follow after him. But, I'm just going to sit back and relax. Like I said, Cortez Kennedy, and I figured Ray Agnew would go off, and they did early. And, and I think they deserve to go off as early as they went. And, I'm just going to sit back and try to relax a little here and, and see what happens.
Anybody talked to you in the past week? Or actually, I'm sure people have talked to you in the past week. Who's talked to you? Who have you had conversations with?
Well, I talked to Seattle. They gave up their pick already. New Orleans, Green Bay, Dallas, Philadelphia. I think they're all show a little interest in me. So, hopefully I'll get off here in the first round. If not, early second. But I'm sure, I'm pretty confident. I hope I have the opportunity to get off in the first round. But if not, like I said, I might have problems, but I have good problems. And I'm, just happy to be drafted, go to National Football League and do what I do best, play football.
You talked about, and we talked about this earlier, about the prospect of a wage scale next year for rookies in the National Football League. You heard Fred Edelstein say earlier that perhaps that was one of the factors that influenced their first decision in taking Mark Carrier to Chicago. Was that something that influenced your decision in coming out early this year?
Well, I'm sure it influenced a lot of the juniors' decision, but I don't think that was the biggest key for everybody to come out. I think a lot of juniors felt they had good years, which they did, and they can help their families out financially, and why stick around when you feel you're just as good as just as good as all the other players entering the draft? It just goes to show, for example, that you have a few juniors already in the top 10 picks, and we're just football players like anybody else. They might have a year or two, but that doesn't make any difference.
All right, well, that's going to about wrap it up right now
here in Scranton, Pennsylvania. We're going to take you across the country to Irving, Texas, and Chris Myers, who's at the Cowboys training facility. Chris?
Thanks, Jimmy. And the Saints, of course, are hesitant at this point about drafting juniors, not only because of age and inexperience, but because of limited playing time, and also the fact that they feel they were somewhat burned by Ironhead Hayward, also out of Pitt 2 years ago. In fact, recently, Saints head coach Jim Morris said that he has to watch his weight and get his act together, and Hayward has been very, very upset by that and has been a major disappointment for the Saints. They are in desperate need of defensive line help. Of course, not desperate enough to make a deal with the Cowboys. Dallas attempted to trade up, offering Danny Noonan with the Saints. They turned that down. So now the Saints will be looking for someone like Ronaldo Turnbull, possibly, or maybe James Williams at the corner. We'll have more on the Saints later on. Right now, let's go to Fred Edelstein in New York.
The Saints have decided to take Ronaldo Turnbull. So I think we're going to see it pretty soon, but it looks like Ronaldo Turnbull will go to the Saints.
My goodness, a man of few words, Fred Edelstein.
I guess all he said
Our
was
sources have told us that
right?
Ronaldo Turnbull, born in the Virgin Islands, is next, and we'll find
New
out.
Orleans Saints select Ronaldo Turnbull, defensive end, West Virginia.
Of course, Joe, I got to give you the nod. You had it
The
too.
Houston Oilers are on next.
Houston is next, and once again, defense 10-4 now, and Ronaldo Turnbull, 6'4.5", 245, the all-time sack leader at West Virginia with 22.
He can't play at 245 in the pros. I think he's either going. This is one of those situations where you're going to have to be able to go up a little bit. And look, you can see the range. You can see his frame. His upper body frame could use about 20 pounds. Make him a little bit stronger. There you see him standing up. Got good leg strength, mobility. The thing about him is that he gets off the ball real well. Plus, he's in a situation where New Orleans needs help at the defensive line. Again, it's a draft pick that really is done by need. They've got to have the help at the defensive line position.
You know, I think it's interesting here, Zim, is that, again, I mean, the 14th pick overall, midway through the first round, obviously he's an outstanding player. But there are some semi-question marks. Again, here's a guy that has to bulk up a little bit to play a classic defensive end. And you say that that's kind of what we've seen in the first round.
Well, to me, this draft is fascinating because your top picks aren't really chalk picks. I mean, the first guy in the draft, Jeff George, half the scouts don't like him. I mean, I'm not talking about liking him as the first pick. They don't like him at all. I mean, and our own guy, Mel Kiper, has him the 5th-rated quarterback, and that's the first guy chosen overall. Now you've got Keith McCants, who's projected as an outside linebacker. He didn't play outside linebacker. He was inside. It's a projection. They don't know whether he can do it. It's a recognition position. When he had to do a lot of recognizing in the bowl game, in the Sugar Bowl, he had trouble. Now you've got Junior Seau. He's a pass rusher. He had a bad UCLA game. He had a bad bowl game. He can rush the passer, but can he play regular linebacker? Well, they think he can, but they're not sure. So you have all these question marks, these projections, these yes but picks.
Well, part of it is that a lot of them are the juniors, so they miss an entire season, senior year. They miss another spring practice, and until it was apparent that a lot of juniors were coming out, scouts and everybody didn't have a chance to even focus in on these guys. So it's both ways. There's less information about some.
I would say if there's one word to describe this draft so far, it's gamble. A gamble draft. And it's interesting. You know, it's a crapshoot.
I don't agree, Zim. I don't think it's as much of a gamble.
Take off your glasses.
I will. I'll take off. Okay, I'm coming after you now. I don't necessarily see it as that big a gamble. I think there are projects, but you got to remember now, ever since Plan B came in, the lower round draft picks are guys that they really don't concern themselves with much anymore. They're used to, they'll have them for training camp, and maybe they'll use them later on, and if one guy shows up well on the special teams, we'll keep them around. These kids are more than just gambles. They're projects, but not real gambling projects. These guys are 75, 80% able to contribute right now, move them up a little bit more, and they'll be able to play 8, 10 games through the course of the year. Toughest situation they're going to have with these kids is signing them.
Tommy, the fact that maybe some guys coming out a year early and haven't had the chance, they've maybe played their new position just 1 year. How much will that hurt a guy in the pros?
Well, I think it's a bit of a gamble. We talked a little bit about it yesterday, just in private discussion, but maturity is an important part of professional football. Not only physical maturity, which most of these guys have, but emotional maturity. Those guys are missing, in essence, 11 games that they would have had in college, and they are coming in without that. And the people who are drafting them without being able to see them play those extra 11 football games.
And you have to wonder, I mean, physically, they can handle the rigors of the pros, but maybe mentally. That's what's worried a lot of the scouts as well. Will they be as accomplished? You know, they don't have the junior and senior years under their belt. We'll continue this discussion and more in a moment.
Hello, this is Dennis Hirsch from Hirsch Ford Lincoln Mercury. We're having a sale on Rangers and Bronco 2s. Through a special purchase of limited run trucks, we can offer you the best truck bargains I've seen in years. During this sale, you can buy a new 1990 Ranger XLT loaded with equipment including air conditioning for under $9,000, or a new Bronco 2 XLT with air conditioning, power windows and locks, and loads of extra equipment for under $14,000. That's a savings of about $5,000. We cannot duplicate these trucks at these prices. Another way to buy the best for less from Hirsch Ford Lincoln Mercury.
The advantages are yours at Sun Appliance Television and Audio. We make customer satisfaction our #1 priority. We provide the largest selection of name brand items with the guaranteed lowest prices, prompt professional delivery with our own crews, and a selection of credit plans tailored to meet your needs. Low-cost extended service plans, and of course, your complete satisfaction is always guaranteed. That's Sun Appliance, your hometown superstore with locations in LaPorte, Valparaiso, Michigan City, and Goshen.
The high-speed fender-banging battles of a short track make it anyone's race.
And both of them spin! And Jeff Bodine takes the lead.
NASCAR's first Union 400, Monday night, only on ESPN.
Back live here in New York at the NFL Draft. We are awaiting the pick of the Houston Oilers with pick number 15. And we're on until 6:30 tonight. We'll be followed by Sports Center with Bill Patrick and the one and only Tom Mees. At 7 Eastern time, baseball tonight. The hour version, Dave Marish, Ray Knight, Peter Gammons. Then our live Sunday night baseball game tonight. The San Francisco Giants, the defending champions of the National League, going to San Diego, who they finally beat last night. John Miller, Joe Morgan, all the action. That's at 8 Eastern time tonight. And then Sports Center at 11 follows with Bob Lee and Dan Patrick, including the conversation with Deion Sanders, one of the big picks last year. And, of course, now a member of the New York Yankees as he's in the offseason from the Atlanta Falcons. Joining us now, we're happy to have with us the #1 selection overall in the draft, quarterback Jeff George, new member of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, you're a guy that you started college ball at Purdue, looked at Miami and Florida, end up in Illinois. You're finally going home, and you have a feeling you're going to be there for a while. Did you ever think that was possible?
Well, deep down, I always knew that I had the ability to play and I had the confidence. But, you know, it's a dream come true to go back home and play in Indianapolis. And I feel really fortunate to play for a ball club like that.
Tell me about your trips to several different schools. Why, and you think you did the right thing?
Oh, I know I did the right thing. You know, I wouldn't be here today if I didn't. And things work out for a reason. You know, I was fortunate to play under a great coach at Purdue, Leon Burnett, and decided after he left, decided it was my time to leave. A kid comes out of high school and you pick a college because of the coach, so it wasn't the right place for me. Decided to go to Miami after that because I knew that I wouldn't be on scholarship if I wasn't on, if I stayed in the Big Ten. So I didn't want to put my parents through that ordeal, and deep down I always knew that I wanted to play for Illinois, and I told my parents that, and that's the kind of support that I had. They said it's wherever you're going to be happy at, and Illinois was where I wanted to be, and here I am today.
The Colts, when did you have an idea that they were in it for good? Did they contact you maybe a month ago, 2 months ago?
Well, I held 3 workouts prior to this, and I guess I impressed them at that time. But you know, all along I was hearing from New England Patriots quite a bit, and the Indianapolis Colts. So it really didn't matter to me where I ended up. I feel really fortunate now that I'm playing back home in Indianapolis, and it's a dream come true for me.
Joe?
Jeff, do you get some feeling like you're out there alone? Andre Rison's gone, #1 pick last year. Chris Hinton's gone. Eric Dickerson, who knows? Gone's going to stay. We're not sure. And when Jim Irsay said, we would like to have Eric Dickerson behind Jeff George, sounds to me like it's your job. Right now, you've got to lay the responsibility of the success of the Indianapolis Colts on your shoulders. What's it feel like?
Well, I don't put that added pressure on myself. I'm going out playing a game that I really love and enjoy playing. And if I'm fortunate to be the starter for the Indianapolis Colts, that'll be great. But it's a job that I want to earn. They have 2 good quarterbacks right now, and Jack Trudeau and Chris Chandler. And you know, it's their job right now, and I'm gonna have to beat them out. So I don't put the added pressure on me to be in the same backfield as a talent like Eric Dickerson. That'd be great. I'd feel really privileged and honored to play with him. But you know, he has his own reasons for what's going on, and I'm not really familiar with that case.
Has it sunk in yet? I mean, are you still sort of floating around this room? I mean, all the media, all the television exposure. I mean, has it really sunk in? I am the #1 pick of the NFL draft of the '90s.
I don't think so. You know, I don't know when it will sink in. It's really a dream come true. You know, I'm blessed, and the man upstairs was watching out for me, and I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the University of Illinois. I'm surrounded by a great group of guys on the offense and defense as well, and a great coaching staff. So if it weren't for those guys, Jeff George wouldn't be here today.
I'll tell you when it'll sink in. When you go to the bank and cash that first check, and you get that deposit statement, it's going to say, yeah, I guess I was a #1.
That's right.
Jeff, do you sense an immediate change, and if you could talk about it just for a second, in pressure from college to what you've experienced the last, say, 24 hours?
Well, I don't, like I said before, I don't put the added pressure on me. I've been under pressure all my life, and there's always going to be critics out there saying whether you're good enough to play or not, and you really can't worry about that. It's made me better as a person on the field and off the field as well. I grew up quite a bit in the years in college, and I know I'll benefit by it in professional ball.
We want to come back to you in a minute, Jeff. We got a couple other things we want to run by you, but right now the Houston Oilers are up in their first selection, and you got to think maybe Jack Pardee takes a guy he knows who he coached in college, Lamar Lathan, inside linebacker.
The Houston Oilers select Lamar Lathan, linebacker, University of Houston. The Buffalo Bills are now on the clock.
And the Bills are next to Lamar Lathan, inside linebacker. That's a great story. He goes to his college coach, Jack Pardee, and the Buffalo Bills can't believe their good fortune because the cornerback they really want, J.D. Williams, is there. So I know the Bills have 14 minutes and 40 seconds, but I'm going to fall out of the chair if they don't pick him with their next one. Lamar Lathan, Wharton High School in Texas, 6'3", 237. Had a car accident in July and missed most of '89, except for one game with a knee injury. But he's fully recovered, just about fully recovered. They expect him to be just there when the training camp opens in July. An '88 had 103 tackles, 60 of them solo, and he's a guy, Tommy, that maybe you had at the inside rated ahead of Percy Snow. You like the way he played?
Well, I thought Lamar Lathan was one of the best inside, obviously, but his lateral pursuit seems to be a little bit quicker to me than a Percy Snow. I think this guy is a little bit more versatile. Another one of the outstanding linebackers, though, in the first-round crop this year.
Well, Jeff is still with us. Let me just ask a couple other things. You know, fighting Illini. Now, literally, you're going to have to be that with Jack Trudeau. Do you know him and Chandler? Did you know them yet? I mean, that's, I guess, competition is what makes an athlete in the game great. You know what you're up against.
Oh yeah, like I said, you know, they're good ones in Indianapolis. They're a good talent, and they can step right in and they can play wherever. And I know Jack Trudeau a little bit from being from Illinois. I've talked to him. He's a great guy. And I haven't met Chris Chandler. I'm looking forward to meeting him. And like I said, they're the quarterbacks of the Colts, and I'm just a third quarterback there, and I'm just ready for the challenge.
Well, we knew that you would be ready because already the pro set cards, I don't know if you can see this, we have you as a Colt. They were ready in case you were an Atlanta Falcon, and they have you ready in case you're a New England Patriot. So I want to present this one to you. Wait a minute, let me get the right one here. This card right here, Colts. Congratulations, it's yours.
Well, thank you. That's I guess it's starting to set in now. When you have a card on your own, reality's starting to set in.
All right, Jeff George, Indianapolis Colts. Thanks. Good luck in your career in the NFL. We'll be back here in New York in a moment.
Thank you.
I want one of those.
No matter where in the world you find yourself.
All right, back in New York, 11 defensive players, only 4 offensive players drafted thus far. Lamar Lathan, inside linebacker from Houston, now goes to the Houston Oilers. This is a man that's had a dream of a little bit more than just playing pro ball this year. Here's Chris Myers.
Can the NFL draft help a crack-addicted mother of 2? Lamar Lathan thinks so. He's one of the top linebackers coming out of college early this year, a projected first-rounder from the University of Houston. But he's more concerned about his 25-year-old sister, who has an admitted drug problem.
Once a person admits they have a problem, they're probably like 50% on their way to road to recovery. And she has admitted the problem. She's toned down her activities lately, you know, and that's a positive thing, and that signifies that she really wants help.
How would you describe the relationship between you and your sister?
she's always been I guess my big brother and my big sister. You know, she's taught me a lot of things, and you know, we were very close. You know, it was just my mother, her, and myself, and that really makes a family really close knit.
Gloria Ann preferred not to be interviewed or appear on camera, and that's understandable. Life hasn't been easy for the Lathan family here in Wharton, Texas, about 60 miles south of Houston. While Lamar was growing up, his father was rarely around. Now he hopes that his sister will be there for her children. He figures if he can come up with the necessary funding to put her in a reputable rehabilitation center, then at least that's a start.
I really want to help my sister out, you know. I think I owe her that much, and the really big thing about that is that I have two little nephews that are darling little boys. They're, you know, great. They're going to be good, you know, good people, and I just really want them to get their mother back.
Lathan is in a hurry to sign a pro contract. He plans to take out a loan to pay for his sister's recovery and then pay it back with his expected NFL bonus. He's so eager he intends to report to the team that drafts him immediately. He'll work out with the club whether he has a signed contract or not.
You have a much stronger negotiating position if the guy is there and showing every day exactly what he can do. Plus the fact that he's learning. See, now he's got a chance to, from the first day of camp, hey, I know the system.
So far, Lathan has tackled adversity head-on. He broke his sternum in an auto accident, but recovered in time for the Cougars' '89 opener. After one game, his senior season was over when he blew out a knee in practice.
Adversity truly builds character, and this type of thing in my life, I think has only made me stronger.
When he was healthy in 1988, he made 60 solo tackles, had 43 assists, and blocked 3 punts. He's been described as a bigger Jack Ham. At 6'3.5" and 250 pounds, Lamar Lathan believes there are few his size with his quickness. He has at least one other believer, his sister, hoping for a successful beginning in the NFL and a happy ending in Wharton, Texas. Chris Myers, ESPN.
And there is a man that I think everybody is rooting for, and certainly Jack Pardee, drafting him at Houston, knows exactly what they have. And here come the Bills, and you know with Derek Burrows having to retire with the neck injury, you know where they're going. It's corner.
The Buffalo Bills select James Williams, defensive back, Fresno State. Pittsburgh Steelers are now on the clock.
I think the Buffalo Bills are pleasantly surprised that the top-rated corner in the draft, J.D. Williams from Fresno State, is still there, Mel. They had some other people in mind, and they just figured that he would not yet be around. Started his career as a wide receiver, but last year had 58 tackles, 5 of them for losses. So here's a guy at the corner that can do more than just defend passes. 39-inch vertical jump, 11 career block kicks, the best pure corner in the draft, and he can flat out fly.
That's the key, the recovery speed, the ability he has to play man-to-man in the NFL. And of course, you look at the Buffalo Bills, you know, losing Burrows, as you mentioned, Chris, Kirby Jackson filling in a cornerback, wasn't able to cut it with that guy at that position. They want somebody opposite Odoms, you know, to play that position. And of course, J.D. Williams is the man they wanted. Obviously, Agnew was another guy they considered. They didn't expect Williams to still be here. Very fortunate that he was.
Yeah, and he and Alexander Wright, the wide receivers, they the fastest two in the draft?
No doubt about it. They're both under 4.3 consistently. Alexander Wright still on the board. Reggie Rembert still on the board. No wide receiver has gone yet. And running backs, Emmitt Smith. Is it the Asian situation that's pushing him down? Rodney Hampton, Harold Green, Darrell Anthony Thompson, Dexter Carter, Steve Broussard, a plethora of great running backs still on the board at this point.
All right, let's maybe talk running back real quickly, because except for Blair, they're all there. Now, we said, and I thought that it would have a chance, and maybe it still does, as many as 7 could go in the first round. Now it doesn't look like it. Coming up yet to draft in the first round, guys, are Pittsburgh. The Packers have 2 straight selections. Then Atlanta. Now there could be a place. Dallas, Philadelphia, the Rams, the Giants, and the 49ers. Any thoughts on who might go for a running back, guys? Joe, you...
Yeah, I think, in all honesty, I think Atlanta is in a position to take one. Dallas is in a position to take one. New York Giants, I think, really need a running back. Now, we've seen the linebackers go. We've seen the defensive help early in the first round. I think now you're going to start to see teams take some running backs to fill in. Rodney Hampton, Emmitt Smith, Darrell Thompson, Rodney Hampton, Anthony Thompson, Harold Green. These are the names I think you're going to start to see now in the later first, early second.
Mel, let's go to who you had to have rated. Yeah, obviously, you had Blair Thomas first. I mean, there was no chink in his armor whatsoever. Then what?
Well, the Emmitt Smith situation, the agent that represented last year, Lawyer Tillman, was long holdout. A lot of teams are concerned whether Emmitt Smith's going to come in October this year rather than being there in July. Harold Green, best suited for a one-back offense. Rodney Hampton can play in any offense. He's a great player and will be a steal at the point in which he's selected now. Darrell Thompson dropped off a bit, top 10 pick going into the year, now considered a late first-round pick. All these guys will be 1,000-yard rushers in the National Football League.
And a lot of them, Tommy, are very intriguing players. And just about all of them can catch the football.
Well, I think that, of course, you have to be able to catch the football to play in the pros now. You know, I think the Giants may possibly be looking for a running back, but also when I talked with Cleveland, they talked about making a trade to get up into that bottom third of that first round to get a running back, and here they find, 5 guys left that they can pick from, so they can kind of pick and choose who they want.
Of course, if Pittsburgh wants to move geographically without doing so, they can become in Georgia. If they got Worley last year, they could go Hampton. Of course, they're not going to do that. But, I mean, these are all guys. Now, the Packers, with one of their 2 picks, may go with the back to complement Fullwood. I think the Packers in Atlanta may pick up backs here.
Well, I think that's where it makes sense. Anytime you've got back-to-back picks like that, we saw it with Seattle making the deal with New England to go where they want to go to get the people they want. Green Bay is in a very good position to trade down. Right now, there's a lot of running backs out there. If they want to go with that kind of help, they're in a very strong position to do it. Cleveland not having the pick in the first round, wants some help at that position, take a little pressure off of Bernie and go with Metcalf. That's a very likely thing. I think Tommy might be right on in that area.
The thing is, Joe, Steve Broussard, Dexter Carter, Rodney Hampton are all the versatile kind of running back that a lot of teams want right now. Broussard, outstanding receiver, as is Hampton, and Dexter Carter in that Dave Meggett mold. A lot of teams like those situational guys, and Fonnie does. Jerry likes that kind of back that's a home run hitter. And all 3 of these kids, Broussard, Hampton, and Carter, fill that bill, and of course would be role-type players. I'm talking about Carter. Hampton is a sensational talent, and I think at this point, Hampton is the guy I would want.
16 selections have been made thus far in the 1990 draft, 12 of them defense. Here's what's happened to date. We'll be back to New York in a moment.
NFL draft. We're a little over 2 hours into our coverage, and we're waiting on the Pittsburgh Steelers to make the 17th selection in the draft. The first 16 Well, 5 were juniors to go in this draft, or I should say 6 were juniors. We got a new one, Lamar Lathan. Jeff George, of course, starting the way, and then Keith McCants, Junior Seau, Mark Carrier, Andre Ware, Bam, 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 4, 5, 6, 7, and then Lamar Lathan to go with the Oilers, going back to his old coach, Jack Pardee, and a true junior, Junior Seau. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Going to San Diego. I saw you Friday in the lobby here at the Marriott Marquis. You were low-key, you look good, comfortable.
Thank you.
Very emotional time for you, I just saw.
Very emotional time. I mean, it just happens simultaneously. I mean, I can't control myself. I mean, I just go out there and have fun, and this is a fun time for me.
The Chargers are hoping you can't contain yourself too when you're out there on.
Oh yeah,
the football field.
I'm gonna look forward to playing there in San Diego country, and I'm very ecstatic that everything went well for us. I mean, it was fine.
Was there one overriding factor in why you decided to bypass your senior year?
The deciding factor was the risk of injury and wage gap. And I felt that those were 2 real big things that I had to consider with myself as being a pro athlete and looking forward to the future.
Junior, when you stop and think about it, you only started 1 year, only really played college ball for 2 years. You really feel you're ready for the professional ranks?
Let's put it this way. If they feel that we're beating Superman, you know, if we're the Superman, we're going to put on the cape, we're going to try to fly. Okay? And
Fair enough.
We're going to go out there, we're going to give it the best effort, and we feel that we can compete. And it's just one of those things that, you know, it was a dream for us, and now we paid our dues and we're ready to go on.
Well, you just enjoyed yourself, Junior.
Thank
Congratulations from everybody at ESPN.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
I know it is. We'll go now to Jimmy Roberts, who is with another junior, Mark Spindler, who is our bubble man. Jimmy.
Spindler, he's George, he's Mark's father, and we are now joined by Mark Spindler, his son, and he told me earlier that it was his personal goal to be #1 or at least to be in the first round of the NFL draft. 9 picks left. Tell me where your thoughts are right now.
You know, I'm just sitting back and trying to relax it. Basically, there's nothing much I can do. You know, they're either going to pick me or they're not. You know, I'll make somebody happy sooner or later, and you know, whenever the time comes, you know, I can be happy, my friends, my family will be happy, and you know, then we'll just go and take care of business. But you know, right now I'm just going to try to sit back, you know, and just relax.
What about the prospect of playing in Pittsburgh? They're coming up. You played your college ball there. You grew up 4.5 hours from Pittsburgh. Would that be something of a thrill for you?
Oh, sure. You know, I wouldn't mind playing for Pittsburgh at all. You know, they have a great organization. I played for 2 of the coaches, John Fox and Coach Valencetti. You know, Joe Green's a great coach, and, you know, I'd love to play for them. I wouldn't have any problem at all.
All right, 9 picks left in the first round. Let's take it back to Chris Berman in New York.
All right, Jimmy, as you are in Scranton, Pennsylvania, Harry Chapin with the song 30,000 Pounds of Bananas about Scranton. There may be a trade with Pittsburgh and Dallas. Let's see.
Pittsburgh has been on the clock, but Pittsburgh has traded this choice to Dallas in return for 2 picks in this draft which Dallas holds. Specifically, Dallas gives to Pittsburgh Minnesota's pick in the first round of this draft, which is the 21st pick, which Dallas has held. And also, Dallas gives Pittsburgh San Francisco's choice in the 3rd round, the 28th pick in the 3rd round of this draft. Those 2 picks go to Pittsburgh, and Dallas is now on the board.
All right, so the Dallas Cowboys jumping up, and this could be the back. Now, they did get Terrence Flagler in the trade a few days ago with the San Francisco 49ers, and so in a move that cost them the last pick in the 3rd round, they leapfrog from 21 to 17 to get the player they want. And now maybe, guys, maybe they go with the burner at wide receiver. Could that be? They have their choice of wide receivers.
I don't think so. I think they've got their wide receivers. Both of them hurt last year. I think he's comfortable at wide receiver. Right now, I would say there's a strong possibility. Maybe Dexter Carter, maybe the little back, maybe the guy to come out of the backfield to help Troy Aikman.
This high? Well, we'll know in a minute. I mean, with all the other backs there, that would be a bit of a surprise. I'm sure, Mel, you'd agree. Here it is. So the Cowboys obviously made the trade, and they aren't going to sleep on it. They know exactly what they're going to do. So will you.
Under the trade that I just described, Dallas selects Emmitt Smith, running back from Florida.
So the running back of their choice next to Blair Thomas.
The next two choices are Green Bay.
Emmitt Smith.
From Cleveland, and then Green Bay's home
and
choice.
the Cowboys should be prepared to dig in for a while, because Emmitt's agent, Richard Howell, represented Lawyer Tillman last year, and he really never came over to the Browns until about a third of the regular season was in. So Dallas is obviously prepared